Adrian Grayson sat alone in his glass-walled office, staring at the skyline as if the city could answer his questions. His company, Grayson and Company, was a public success story. Revenue was soaring. The press called him a genius. Investors called him untouchable. Employees called him intimidating. But Adrian didn't feel untouchable. He felt uneasy. The anonymous complaints had started small. An email here, a whisper there. A few people complained about harsh managers. A cleaner had reportedly been yelled at in front of others. Someone said the workplace felt cold. Adrian had dismissed them at first. People complain. That's what they do. But the reports kept coming. And each one sounded less like a mistake and more like a pattern. He thought about his mother. Evelyn Grayson had raised him alone after his father died. She'd worked nights as a hospital cleaner. She never complained. She never asked for anything. She simply worked. Hard, quietly, with dignity. Adrian's success had come from his drive, yes, but also from her sacrifices. He remembered how she'd stayed up late to wash his school uniform, how she'd made him study even when she was exhausted, how she'd taught him to be strong without becoming cruel. If anyone could tell him the truth about his company, it would be her. He picked up his phone and dialed her number. She answered on the first ring. "Hello, sweetheart," she said. "Mom," Adrian said, his voice tight. "I need you to do something for me." There was a pause, a softness. "What is it?" Adrian hesitated. He wasn't used to asking for help. Especially not from the one person he didn't want to disappoint. "I need you to come work here," he said finally. There was silence again. Evelyn's voice came out calm, but Adrian could hear the concern behind it. "Why?" Adrian swallowed. "I want to see how people behave when they don't know I'm watching." "Are you testing them?" she asked. "Yes. And you want me to clean?" she said, as if she couldn't believe her ears. Adrian felt a pang of guilt. "I know it's not fair. But I need you to do this." Evelyn exhaled slowly. "You're asking me to go back to something I left behind years ago." Adrian's heart tightened. "I know. I'm sorry." Evelyn was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "All right. Mom," Adrian began, "I don't want you to be treated badly." "I know," she replied. "But you need to know the truth." That week, Evelyn arrived at Grayson and Company with a plain uniform, a mop, and a janitorial badge that simply read, "Evelyn, cleaning staff." She didn't tell anyone who she was. She didn't ask for special treatment. She only did her job. The building was spotless, the employees polished, and the atmosphere professional, at least on the surface. But underneath, the truth was waiting. On her first day, Evelyn cleaned the executive floor. She watched people move quickly, speaking sharply into their phones. No one offered a greeting. No one acknowledged her existence. When she entered a conference room to clean after a meeting, a senior manager barely glanced at her. "Can you hurry up?" he snapped, not even looking at her face. "We have a deadline." Evelyn paused, mop in hand. She looked at him calmly and replied, "Yes, sir." He didn't apologize. He didn't soften his tone. He didn't even thank her. Evelyn simply continued cleaning. As the day went on, she noticed something that made her chest tighten. Employees didn't just ignore her. They treated her as if she was invisible. They spoke loudly about their problems. They complained about the low-level staff who got in the way. They made jokes about cleaners being uneducated. And the worst part, no one stopped them. Evelyn finished her shift and walked out of the building, her heart heavy. When she got home, she didn't say much. She simply sat across from Adrian and told him the truth. "They don't see people," she said quietly. "They only see what those people can do for them." Adrian looked at her with a mix of shock and sadness. This was only the first day. He had no idea how much worse it would get. Evelyn's second week began with the same quiet routine. Keys jingling, mop bucket rolling, and the soft hum of fluorescent lights. But something had changed. The building no longer felt like a professional workplace. It felt like a stage where people performed confidence and dominance. The first incident happened in the hallway near the break room. Two senior managers stood talking, coffee in hand. Their laughter echoed through the corridor, loud and careless. "Honestly, if I ever had to clean floors, I'd rather die," one said, smiling. The other nodded. "Same. People like that don't have dreams." They just exist. Evelyn paused for a moment, her hand on the mop handle. She wanted to turn and leave. But she stayed. She watched them. They didn't even realize they were being overheard. They didn't even realize their words were poison. A junior cleaner passed by and heard the comment. His shoulders slumped, and he quickly looked away, ashamed. Evelyn continued her work, but her heart ached. She knew the pain of being treated as if you were nothing. That afternoon, the worst incident happened. It was the kind of moment that reveals who a person really is. Mr. Collins, a department head known for his discipline, was walking to his office when he saw Evelyn pushing her cleaning cart. The hallway was narrow, and she was moving slowly. He didn't slow down. He didn't say excuse me. He simply pushed past her, bumping her cart. The cart rolled slightly, and a trash bag fell out, spilling papers onto the floor. Evelyn stopped and bent down to pick them up. Mr. Collins stopped too. He stared at her with a look that wasn't anger. It was contempt. What are you doing? He snapped. Evelyn stood, holding the papers, and replied calmly, cleaning, sir. Mr. Collins sneered. Well, you should do it better. Evelyn swallowed her pride and continued picking up the papers. Mr. Collins laughed. This is why people like you should stay out of my way. Evelyn didn't answer, but she felt her hands tremble. Then Mr. Collins raised his voice so loud that everyone nearby could hear. You're wasting time. I have a meeting in 5 minutes, and I'm not waiting because of you. People stared at Evelyn. No one spoke. No one moved. Evelyn looked at Mr. Collins and said softly, I'm sorry, sir. Mr. Collins turned away, satisfied, as if he had proven a point. Evelyn finished cleaning, but her spirit was shaken. When she returned home that evening, she told Adrian everything. He didn't even see me as a human being, she said, her voice trembling. He saw me as a problem. Adrian's face went pale. He watched the security footage again and again, hoping he was imagining it. But the video proved it was real. Evelyn wasn't just being treated poorly. She was being dehumanized. That night, Adrian couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about how easily people can become cruel when they think they are safe. The next morning, Evelyn returned to work. But this time, she wasn't just observing. She was watching for the moment when someone would finally show their true self. And she found it sooner than she expected. A polished executive floor, a hallway full of powerful people, and a single cleaner who refused to disappear. By the third week, Evelyn had begun to understand the rhythm of the company. She knew who was cruel, who was kind, and who pretended to be kind only when it mattered. She had learned to stay invisible. But she also knew that invisibility wasn't the same as respect. And that's why she decided to speak. It happened one morning, just after the staff meeting. The conference room was filled with executives, managers, and the usual tense atmosphere. People sat in expensive chairs, holding expensive phones, looking powerful. Evelyn entered with her cart and began cleaning. She moved quietly, careful not to interrupt. She wiped tables, swept crumbs, and emptied trash cans. She was almost done when Mr. Collins walked in. He was angry, the kind of angry that wanted to punish someone. He was late for a meeting, and he didn't want to admit it. He saw the trash can and tossed his paper cup toward it. He missed. The cup rolled toward Evelyn's feet. Evelyn stopped and stared at the cup. She picked it up and walked toward the trash can. Mr. Collins leaned against the table and said, "Get it." Evelyn stopped, turned, and looked at him. "Sir," she said, voice steady. "You dropped it. I'm not your servant. I'm a human being." The room went silent. Mr. Collins's face turned red. "You think you can talk to me like that?" he snapped. Evelyn remained calm. "No, I think you can talk to me like that. But I don't have to accept it." Mr. Collins scoffed. "You're a cleaner. You have no right to speak." Evelyn replied, "I have every right to be treated with respect." The room's silence grew heavier. Some people stared at Evelyn with disgust. Others with admiration. A junior staff member whispered, "Did she just?" Mr. Collins stood up, towering over her. "HR," he shouted. "Get her out of here." Evelyn nodded. She walked out of the room. But she didn't go quietly. In the hallway, she saw a group of employees standing near the elevator. They were whispering and laughing. One of them said, "She's going to get fired." Evelyn stopped and turned. "If you think this is wrong," she said loudly, "then say something." No one did. Then she looked at them all, one by one. "You are all cowards," she said. A silence followed. The interns looked down. The managers avoided eye contact. The only person who spoke was the young intern who had helped her weeks before. He stepped forward. "She's right," he said. Everyone turned to look at him. "Mr. Collins sneered. "And who are you to speak?" The intern held his ground. "I'm someone who knows what respect means." Mr. Collins's face twisted with anger. "You're fired," he said. The intern didn't move. He looked at Evelyn, then back at Mr. Collins. "Go ahead," he said. Mr. Collins was stunned. He didn't know what to do. He turned and walked away. Evelyn watched him leave. Then she continued to the HR office. When she arrived, she was told to wait. HR asked her to explain what happened. Evelyn told the truth. She didn't justify herself. She didn't apologize. She simply spoke honestly. When she left the HR office, she felt something she hadn't felt in weeks. Relief. Not because she had won, but because she had finally been seen. That night, Adrian watched the footage again. He felt something in his chest break. He realized he had created a company that rewarded cruelty. And he realized that the test had become a punishment for him. The morning of the meeting, the building felt different. The air was heavier. People moved faster, but their faces were tense. Rumors had started to spread. Something big was happening, but no one knew what. Adrian had sent the email the night before. Mandatory all-staff meeting. Attendance is not optional. He had never called a meeting like this before. Employees were uneasy. Some thought it was a performance review. Others thought it was a surprise announcement. A few believed it was a new product launch. No one suspected the truth. As the employees gathered in the auditorium, the room buzzed with whispers. They sat in rows, their expressions a mix of curiosity and fear. Evelyn sat in the back, still in her cleaning uniform, still pushing her cart, still silent. Adrian stood backstage, watching through the glass window. He could see the crowd. He could see the fear in their eyes. He could see the guilt in others. He could feel his own heart beating fast. When the doors opened, the room fell silent. Adrian walked onto the stage. The lights shone on him. The silence grew heavier. He looked out at his employees, his company, and spoke. "Good morning," he began. His voice was steady, but his eyes were sharp. "Thank you for coming." He paused. "I called this meeting because I need to address something important." The crowd shifted in their seats, waiting for the announcement. Adrian continued. "We pride ourselves on being a company that values excellence, innovation, and professionalism." A few people nodded, proud of the image they had built. "But I have learned something about us," Adrian said, "that I did not want to believe." The room went quiet. Adrian's voice dropped. "For the past month, I have been running a test." He looked at the audience. "I asked someone to come into this building as a cleaner." He paused again. "And I watched what happened." A few people began whispering. Some looked confused. Others looked annoyed. Adrian walked to the edge of the stage. "I watched how we treat people who we believe are below us." The crowd shifted again, uncomfortable. Adrian's face hardened. "I watched how some of you humiliate others, how some of you ignore them, how some of you treat them as if they don't exist." A few people shifted uncomfortably. Some looked down. Some looked away. Adrian took a deep breath. "And I watched a man named Mr. Collins." Mr. Collins froze in his seat. Adrian continued. "He treated a cleaner like she was nothing." Mr. Collins stood up abruptly. "This is ridiculous." Adrian ignored him. "I want to introduce you to someone," he said. The side door opened. Evelyn walked in. The room went silent. No one moved. Evelyn walked up the aisle, her uniform crisp and her posture calm. She walked to the stage and stood beside Adrian. The crowd stared. Some people gasped. Some whispered, "As that?" Adrian pointed to Evelyn. "This is my mother." The room went dead silent. Evelyn looked out at the crowd. She spoke, her voice calm but powerful. "I was a cleaner for years," she said. "I raised my son with dignity and hard work. I taught him to respect others." She looked at the audience. "And I spent the last month watching you." The room shifted again. Adrian stepped forward. "And now you know the truth." He turned to Mr. Collins. You will be terminated immediately. Mr. Collins stood frozen, his face pale. He tried to speak, but no words came out. Adrian continued, and HR leadership will be replaced. A murmur ran through the crowd. Adrian looked around the room, meeting eyes. From now on, he said, this company will value respect over power. He paused, then said, and anyone who cannot treat another human being with dignity will not have a place here. The room erupted into whispers. Some people looked ashamed, others looked relieved, a few looked angry. Adrian then turned to the intern who had helped Evelyn. You, he said, you showed courage. You will be promoted. The intern's face lit up with disbelief. Adrian looked back at Evelyn. And you, he said, are no longer a cleaner here. Evelyn smiled softly. I never wanted to be seen as a cleaner, she said. I wanted to be seen as a person. The room stayed quiet. Adrian closed the meeting with one final sentence. Remember this, he said. The way you treat someone when you think no one important is watching, is who you truly are. The meeting ended. As people walked out, the atmosphere had changed. The company had lost some people, but it had gained something far more valuable. A conscience. And for the first time in months, Adrian felt something he hadn't felt in a long time, pride.